Welcome to the Mark Attwood Show, Adventures in a Cosmic Suit. Remember these? Tuning forks. Very powerful. Don't know if you can hear that. It was about 6 months ago that I introduced David Holst from Soma Energetics, who's an expert in frequency and frequency healing. And I thought it'd be good to do a follow-up on that and go into a bit more detail about David's work. So it's my pleasure to introduce David Holst. Hi, David.
Hey, how are you? Good to be back with you, Mark.
You too. How's your year gone so far?
Really good. Things are busy.
Good. Well, I know from feedback that hundreds, if not thousands of listeners have got these tuning forks at home, or at least some of them, because you have a very, very wide range. And I can't tell you how much they've done for me personally. In fact, I was using one of them at 3:30 a.m. because I was under slight attack. And
Right.
I was pulled that out with the quartz crystal at that time. And that literally, I think I've almost worn that fork out in the, in the last months. So I thought it'd be good to get you back on and have a chat and go a bit deeper into your work, because I know a lot of people that watch the show maybe got a couple of forks, but they might not have gone deeper into the healing aspects, the spiritual aspects. And plus you have such a vast amount of knowledge. It's amazing that you've set yourself up there with multiple cameras so that we can actually see you in action.
Oh, great. Okay.
So
All
over
right.
to you.
Sorry.
Over to you.
Oh, me. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me back. I enjoyed our time together the first time. And, the first time we sort of looked at more personal ways to use the forks. And I heard that you had some response back on maybe more how to use the forks. So I thought we would kind of go that directions. Definitely the fork can be used on yourself, help family, friends. And if you're someone who's kind of in a position to do modalities, Reiki or any energy work at all, tuning forks is just going to enhance your work and allow you to open up the energy body of the client you're working with, so we can go deeper into the collective part of our consciousness. So I'm just glad to be here with you again. Tuning forks. Let's just start there. Why a tuning fork?
Yeah.
And why is that so unique? One thing that's unique about a tuning fork, it is just pure raw vibration. When I hear frequencies in the form of music, there's an emotion attached to that sound, in a song. It's going to make you sad. It's going to make you happy. It's going to make you think back, when you were first met somebody and fell in love and all those kind of things. But a tuning fork goes nowhere. It just keeps you present in that sound. Another reason is I think they're an ancient tool. We don't know how far things go back, but we know Egypt. We know that the frequencies, the quartz was used in the pyramids. We know that probably for those who are kind of connected to this Atlantis idea, that most likely raw vibration was used then. So I want to make that clear. Another thing is you don't plug it into the grid. And I like that. You can use a tuning fork anywhere. You can put your tuning forks in your purse or your bag or whatever and use them anywhere. Even if the electricity goes out, you got a tuning fork. So there's always that access to pure vibration. I do believe that we're vibrational beings. I know that we talk about being energy beings, but the reason that the energy has made the body, the soul, and all of that is because of the fact of frequency with energy. Energy plus frequency equals matter. So we tend to, in the West, tend to go toward the matter as the origin, in medical Western medicine and all that. We want to treat the body, whereas energy work says that the cause of all physical illnesses, disease, and misfunctions are based in the energy body. And that's one thing that Soma Energetics really emphasizes is what is called the Etheric Blueprint. Now, most people believe that the body has this aura, And we always think of the body first because matter first and then energy. Some energetics comes a little differently from a different direction, that it's the energy coming in that becomes the body. So you want to work out here in the energy as the cause that shows up in the effect, the body. And I think this as a great lesson for us all to look at right now is that we tend to be looking at everything that's going on in the world today from a more level of matter, change the matter, change the physical, and then we change everything else. And that just doesn't seem to work. So the work of Some Energetics is really to raise consciousness. And I don't know how far you want me to go, but
well, you know, you bring up a lot of things there. You know, just to remind people, you have a direct connection back to Royal Raymond Rife, don't you? Because you had his notes.
Yes.
You knew one of his assistants, was it?
Correct.
So I love the fact that you have that linear connection back 100 years. And anybody watching this who doesn't know who Royal Raymond Rife is, you need to know, because that guy was curing people of everything with frequency 100 years ago. So I think it's your work is very, very important, I think. And you said about the etheric blueprints. Does that relate to, do you think that has a connection to the morphic resonance field that Rupert Sheldrake talks about? Or
yes,
because this concepts of the matter, because what you've just described is perfect. Everything's backwards. The way that we're approaching the problems that we've got at the moment is all backwards. All medicine is backwards or inverted. Would you agree with that?
I do. And just think about when you look into a mirror, what's right is actually left in the mirror. So when we're looking at this mirror and reflection of called the world, everything really is backwards from the spiritual point of view of it. So again, we have to look at the fact that energy is always coming in to become a part of the cellular replication of the body. So if you change what's out here in the energy body, you're going to change the blueprint, the etheric blueprint of what drives cellular development. Whereas in the West, we go from the cellular development, try to fix it, medicines, surgeries, and all that kind of Newtonian type of stuff. And now we've had this shift into the quantum consciousness that's changed everything that we thought was actually correct in the Western type of medicine. Raymond Royal Rife's a fascinating person. I learned about him many, many years ago, was fascinated with his work of being able to delete viruses called myisms in the DNA that would become cancer and whatever. And he learned to use a frequency to target those things before they became. And so I was in Sedona, Arizona doing a workshop. Oh my goodness, it's been 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I just started Some Energetics, in fact. And a young lady wanted to come to my workshop who was a worldwide singer and harp player, whatever. So bottom line, I let her come without paying because she didn't have any money. And for that, she wanted introduce me to, at that time, the only living protege of Rife, who was in Sedona. So I got to go and meet him. But what was really cool, Mark, about that is I got to look at some of the pictures of that had been taken through Rife, looking through his microscope at different viruses and bacterias. And some of the frequencies that he used to disperse that was in the frequencies that we use in the tuning forks called the Solfeggio, especially, and a lot of your listeners is probably connected a lot to the 528 hertz. That was written in his hand, 528 hertz in those notes. So it was quite an experience and a privilege to be able to see some of Rife's works.
Well, you know, and you've expanded into this because you've taken a spiritual angle to this rather than just a medicine approach, let's say, because you're also a minister, preacher, correct?
Yes.
And and you bring all of this together, which is, I think, is what you've done with Some Energetics, and that's what I think so fascinating about your work. So, and I know you've written a book, and anybody watching this who didn't see the first video, go and find it because there's more details there about David's background and his book and knowledge on all of this. But what are you doing with this at the moment? What are you? I know that you train people to put. You just said that you train people who are already healers to add this in as a modality. Was that just an idea that came to you, or is that a thing that develops? Because you actually developed all of these tuning forks yourself, right?
Right. Well, actually, this all started as a very young man being raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which for people who don't know about Tulsa, it was known for two things: oil, capital of the world, and Oral Roberts, who was a famous healer back in the 50s that thousands of people would come to. And I was drug around to those kind of meetings with my family. And I sat there, Mark, and wondered why some people got these miraculous healings and some didn't. And I was maybe 10 years old. I don't know. But it planted a seed in my mind to, I had this idea of the anthropomorphic old man God out there who, why would he heal this one and not that one? Doesn't he love us the same? So I think it was a good thing that I had these questions, because it kind of shook me out of the childhood religious dogma and doctrine to become a seeker and researcher for myself. So going forward with that, I then got into what's called metaphysics, and it was all about manifesting, the law of attraction, manifesting money, a soulmate or a twin flame, and the right job. And again, I saw the same pattern. Some manifested, some didn't. Why?
Yeah.
And what I came up with, and I think this is the beginning of the download for Some Energetics, was because people don't have energy beyond survival to manifest and heal. We as human beings, even in our evolutionary story, we're kind of the survivalist race. I mean, we've survived famines, we've survived disease, we've survived wars. We are people that has learned to survive. But something has awakened in the human collective psyche, which probably began around the 60s for us here and around the world too, as we begin to go into that 60s of this release of new energy begin to show up in the form of women wanted more position and power. Subcultures, Native Americans, gay people, whatever, anybody that was marginalized into the subcultures begin to feel an energy to change things. I don't think they had a good model how to do it, but I think it was there and began in the 60s that we begin to feel this need to go to the next level of our bioconscious evolution. So what I wanted to do is, then I started touching into Tesla.
Yeah.
I started reading all these people about free energy. And I read the most simplest story that made such a impression on me, but it was about a little fish that was in the water, but didn't know it was in the water. So it's in the water searching for the water. And here comes this little enlightened fish comes along to this and says, but you're in the water, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I thought, we live in this, we know no longer, as we've shifted from Newtonian to quantum, that there is no really empty space, that even in a vacuum, a plenum of energy is enough energy that would match all the matter of the universe, according to the holographic universe, Michael Talbert. And I thought, how do I connect that person's energy field individually with universal energy field? Now, you can call that universal energy field God, source, whatever you choose to call it. But it is this infinite field of all energy and possibility. And I was in Sedona doing a workshop, and I just happened to glance outside of this glass window, and there was the red rocks, and there was the green shrubbery and the blue sky, and something said, pick up the red, blue, and green tuning fork, these right here, and begin to use them at the coccyx. And I thought, why the coccyx? And I had touched in a little bit about the Kundalini story, about how Kundalini energy is pulled down by gravity and coils itself at the coccyx. And I thought, well, something said start at the coccyx and begin to cross these 3 frequencies and 3 colors at the coccyx about 3 or 4 times, take a reading, which I used a pendulum. And the next thing I knew that I realized energy crossing energy creates energy.
Mm-hmm.
If you do this enough, you will create and tap into the torsion vortex of all energy, which we call chakras.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a chakra is. Chakra is created where a negative and positive and neutral energy channel crosses each other enough that it creates a spin that looks like a wheel, which is called chakra. So I was just like, oh, what's going on here? This is something really good. So bottom line is I learned how to connect people's personal energy field to universal energy field. Now, let me just say that this is the way I talk to a client.
Yeah.
When I have a client that comes in to see me for tuning, I tell them and show them by using a parable. The parable is that you could say, I really like the work that David Holtz is doing in Soma Energetics, and I just have the faith to write you a $10,000 check and believe that it's all gonna come in. Well, of course, the real logical truth about that is most likely it's not, unless you have it in the bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you write the check, the bank goes insufficient fund, doesn't go through. But let's say that changes and all of a sudden you win the lottery, you get an inheritance, and you got all this money in the bank. You write a check and it goes through. And that's the way I feel about people. People are trying to recycle their autonomic system of survival. I got to have energy to sit here and talk to you. I got to have energy to digest my breakfast or lunch. I have to have energy to keep my heart beating and blood circulating. I can't borrow from that and go over here and say, okay, I need a healing. If I do, then I don't have that extra supply of energy. It's insufficient fund, and I do not manifest.
Yeah.
So this was the first part of Soma Energetics that was important to me, is how to connect people's personal energy field to the World Bank, so to speak. We'll take out deposit, put it in your account, and now when you need a miracle, you need a healing, you need whatever it is that you're trying to manifest, you won't get an insufficient fund, but you'll get the manifestation of it.
Perfect. Love it. No, it makes complete sense to me. So what are we going to do today? Are you going to do a demonstration of some of your work?
Yeah, we can do that. Just I did want to say before we get off that subject, particularly that well, that's why we named the phase one of our classes Energy Vitality Technique.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Meaning energy beyond survival. You know, even the teacher Jesus said to those who were just surviving and living, I come to bring life and more abundant. I'm looking for that abundant, that beyond survival level. And I think that we can do that, especially using these very magical frequencies called Solfeggio. If I could just take a few minutes to talk about these.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Frequencies. So this is what this is here. This is the energy tuners of the 6 Solfeggio frequencies. The thing about the Solfeggio, it's been around in the times past. We don't know how many times it has shown up. We know that it was a part of the Gregorian chants of the Catholic Church in the early years. They used Latin. You know, the worst thing the church did was to lose the Latin, because using Latin was like people who speak in tongues, in the fact that the brain didn't know what they were saying, and their potential and energy and innate ability would get through, and great things would happen, and people would have all the experiences. So that was eventually lost in the 17th century. But to bring it to our time, in 1974, a Dr. Pulio had a visitation of some kind. It was time for these frequencies to be restored back to the people because of the timing we're in. Because what we're in, and I think most people out there know that we're in some kind of a major shift.
Yes.
Things are shifting. And it bothers me that so many people are trying to fix what's trying to break down.
Yeah.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason things are breaking down is because something's breaking through.
Yes. Yes.
And I decided in Soma Energetics to work with what's breaking through and not worry so much about what's breaking down.
Absolutely right.
To do that, you have to create energetic portals or pathways that brings in a new virgin, fresh energy that has not been tampered with by man in 3D or third dimension, right?
Perfect. Got it.
So these frequencies are so unique. They do not fit Western 12-tone temperament music of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, si to si, closed octave, but they actually are the next step beyond Pythagorean's idea of not closing the octave, but overshoot it and therefore catch the spin and the spiral. Now think about that. If we go third dimension, fourth dimension time, and then we find the spin of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's the whole idea of the quantum idea of multidimensional consciousness, of the multiverse, of string theory. All of that is going to be the new spirituality and energy that's going to be taught as we move more and more into the Aquarian age. So the Solfeggio, to me, are the best way that you can get through this polarity of the fourth dimension that's going on right now. And that's what happens in the fourth dimension, is when things come in, they polarize. They polarize. And the polarization was supposed to be for the good, like yin and yang and male and female. But instead, we decided we like this pole, but we don't like this pole. The whole idea here in America was to have a two-party, and the parties work together to create something. No longer is that happening. Now you're on this pole and you're against that pole, and you're on this pole, you're at that pole, and we just are clashing, because the answer is not here in 3D. The answer is in 5D. And the Solfeggio is what's going to give you that curve in time that Einstein talked about, so that you can have access to yourself on multi-dimensions. And one of those dimensions at the etheric level holds your whole perfect created blueprint. And if you can get that whole blueprint down to your etheric blueprint, the cells will read a different blueprint and create a fifth dimensional physical body.
Wow.
Resurrection.
Wow. I like and that's amazing. And it makes a lot of sense to me from my own personal experiences, although I didn't come across your forks until, I don't know, about 9 months ago. About 6 years ago, I was working with plant medicine, and one of those ceremonies was the spirit of the plant was teaching me the frequencies of the chakras, and it literally had me against the wall and was moving my throat and like this until I got the right tone. And it was really hard work, but I got that. And I started suddenly, out of nowhere, I started getting groups of people together and then tuning their chakras. And it was, and I was constantly surprised at how powerful it was, and how it changes. Because I think since then, I mean, we all go through these moments of change through these experiences, but what you've done is pulled it together in a way where anybody can access this, which is the thing that I like.
Yeah, what you're talking about is the law of resonance. When you hit the right frequency or tone to that which is trying to manifest, it's a frequency match.
That's what I've been talking about, frequency matching all year. That's the term that
exactly. That's a great coin term we need to use more, is a frequency match,
because that's what's happening right now with everybody.
Right now,
it's the frequency mismatch which is causing the issues in 3D, and the frequency matching is causing this beautiful stuff to happen, and it's all happening at the same time, which is why it looks chaotic.
You've got it. So the Solfeggio is just such fascinating frequencies, and I'm so honored and blessed that they came into my life over 21 years ago. And when I held them in my hand the first time 21 years ago, as my book says, I was at a fork in the road. Book. I really encourage people that have not ordered this book, I really encourage you to write it. It's my story to the forks, and it's a lot about the frequencies and the forks. And I really appreciate the fact that we can distribute that kind of information out in that way. I tell you, Mark, we live at such an important strategic time. The whole world is at a fork in the road.
Yeah.
You know, either we're going to evolve ourselves or we're going to destroy ourselves. Barbara Marx Hubbard, who's a great mentor of mine back years ago. I don't know if you know her or not, but she's the mother of conscious evolution. She said, decide between conscious evolution or becoming extinct through misuse of your power.
Well, I totally agree with that, because I think where we are right now is in a time of choice and consequence.
Yes.
Literally on a minute by minute basis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know people don't like the word destroy, but I've studied that word destroy, and it doesn't mean you can, because you can't destroy energy, right?
No.
When it says destroy, it means destroy patterns of energy that no longer are frequencies that match the evolution and shift that is going on today. So we have, like you said, we got the mismatch, and it's in that place between the match and the mismatch, that gap, that what I call the ego puts its illusions in there of separation. I'm not you, you're not me. Racism, prejudice, homophobia, all these things are in that gap between. But if we raise the consciousness to that level, we begin to see that we can transform the human experience by retuning it to a higher dimension that we call 5D at this time.
I've used the analogy of this time as being like a petri dish in a biology class at school, when you have it one color and you introduce a new bacteria and it's like dip dip dip, and then suddenly the whole thing changes. And it feels to me that that's where we're at right now. I call this period of time is like spiritual quarantine, where we're all given the time to actually look inside, let go of the 3D noise. At the same time, we're all under huge pressure from the 3D world, and that's why it's an internal job, and that's something I've found incredibly difficult to process, but still working, and it's a work in progress for most of us.
Right.
What do you feel? Do you feel okay? We've got this fork in the road. I'm an optimist. I'm pretty sure we're going 5D and it's going to be great. It's messy. We're going to lose a few people on the way, but I see all that as part of the divine plan. Where do you sit on all of that?
Absolutely. Well, I'm an optimist too about the future. And as I was saying, the word destroy doesn't mean to destroy. It means to change the old pattern and blueprint. And that's what's trying to happen right now. But you have to realize the closer that all of this gets closer to the third dimensional experience, the more it brings up the pathologies of third dimension.
Yeah.
Right. And we're seeing it as a very negative thing and bad thing. And I'm against you and you're against me and whatever. But actually, it's an opportunity to heal our old karmic debt. I was told, and this is me, and if people resonate with it, fine, but I was told no more incarnations in third dimension for me. That's why I started out at 17 years old, and I've got all these years of study and speaking and ministering and pastoring and all the things I've done, God knows, is because, and I wondered why. Why is it so intense? And I realized it was my contract that I made to be a part of a critical mass of souls who would come in and live as many lifetimes it takes in this lifetime to get us to a critical mass of consciousness to receive the vibration of the new energy coming in today. And that's who I hope I'm talking to out there. We call them light workers. We call them many different things, but it is those who have contracted to step up first and to bring in the light of 5D into 3D. Now, a lot of people think we have to go to 5D, 6D. No, all of those are here right now. I've got hundreds of channels on my television. And if I know the frequency, I can put in the frequency of one station and get one manifestation, but that doesn't mean the rest of the frequencies aren't there. I'm just not in tune to it.
Yeah.
People don't realize they come in and out of 5D. When you're having the experience of love unconditionally and you don't feel judgment in your heart and you feel the unity of consciousness, that's 5D stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I've been in 5D for quite a while, but it feels like there's a claw reaching out from 3D trying to pull me back into it every now and then.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the time. That's what we call the part of 4D that is called going through the wilderness, the chaos, the crisis. Exactly. This is a good sign. This is if we're close. It's the darkest before the dawn, right?
Oh, yeah, it's been dark.
So I know things look pretty bleak and bad right now, but I'm looking for this immersion of fifth dimensional photon light to show up in enough people that it's going to flood the planet with this new light of 5D and immerse it into itself. So I do believe, a lot of people are looking for Jesus to come back on a horse or the mothership to come, and everybody's looking to Simon Legree to come in time from the railroad track and all those kind of things. But the things we're looking for to come and rescue us is in us.
It's already inside us, yeah.
And the solfeggio and the tuning forks will open up ways for what's in us to come out of us and manifest itself. Call it Christ consciousness, call it divine, call it God. I don't care what you call it, but there is that within us that is waking up in us, and it's shaking everything. The closer it gets, the more the world vibrates.
Yeah, I can feel it as you're saying it.
So I'm very passionate about this work, and I just believe the more people that we can get to do this. I don't care if you just take the forks and listen to them every day, run them up your chakras, use it on friends. You don't have to be a serious certified practitioner if you don't want to be. But the more we can get this out there in the world, and we certainly have reached a lot of countries at this time in which these forks are being seeded out there into the world. And I hope that through such talks as this, that we can expand that field of consciousness through tuning forks.
Well, imagine if we got 1 million out there and got everybody to use them all at the same time. We should think about that. That'd be incredible, because the whole planet would be vibrating at the right. We could speed the whole thing up.
Yes. Mark, I'd like to just give one more point. When I started this, it was very challenging because I had built a really good following, for a better word. I don't like that word, but I had been all over the United States every weekend speaking, and as a speaker, as a spiritual speaker. And a lot of it was more Western Christian based, I guess you'd say, although I was never in the mainstream of it. I was always out here in the outskirts. But I lost a lot of people, like tuning forks. And I didn't know. When I was at that fork in the road, I just didn't know what to do. But I feel to tell you an experience that I had 21 years ago. I was sitting in my office in Indianapolis, and everybody was gone. And I was just kind of meditating on this idea of tuning forks. Where am I going to go with this? How's this going to change my life? How am I going to make a living even? I was thinking of everything that was getting ready to change. And all of a sudden, I had this book shelf, and I had this book I'd never really looked at called The Keys of Enoch.
I've got it here.
J.J. Hertog. Never read it, just a big book. But I'm telling you, it fell out of my bookshelf. Now, my left brain said, we're on a busy street and a big truck came by and vibrated it out. But my right brain said, you better pay attention to this. So I went over and picked up the book. And I want to read to you what it said that really gave me the green light to go forward with this. And it's this. Now the we here is the enlightened critical mass people who have raised their consciousness. We will not suffer the negative irradiation or excessive ultraviolet radiation that will bombard the places of Earth, for we will inhabit the safe zones at the time of the great geophysical upheavals. Now get this. The thought adjusters are now correcting, repairing blood crystallization levels of ionized consciousness through frequency attunement. This is the making of a people within a people and a mind of light within a mind of light. With this change, the physical flesh, the temple of the higher garment, will receive a new garment of light. When I read the words frequency attunement, I knew this was the way to go, is to go back to the purest element, ingredient of creation, which is vibration and sound. You know, in the Bible says God moved across the face of the deep. And I did a study on this moved. What does that mean, God moved across the face of the deep? And I first found it to say God fluttered across the face of the deep. Okay. And then when I got into the Vedas and the Eastern, it said, and God vibrated across the face of the deep. So everything came in by vibration. So how's things going to be changed into the new earth? through vibration. So this is definitely the origin and the place to start to transform and change our world is by the use of using vibration. So frequency attunement, that is what it's all about.
I was interpreted in the beginning was the word as a vocal vibration, because if you say a word, it's a vibration, and the universe is built on a sound wave. And so this is why, even finding you, when I found your company, it happened exactly the same way.
Sure.
It just popped up and I couldn't ignore it, and I didn't know why.
Well, that's my intention, is to draw people in that are ready for this step. I mean, we're not out there trying to convert everybody to the beliefs and philosophy of soul energetics. People need to find us as much as we need to find them. And that's what our intention is. Yeah.
Well, I think majority of people that watch my show are definitely light workers and definitely moving.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it.
And we're all kind of moving through this together. It feels very much like a family of amazing people who are all struggling with it too, but getting there. We're getting there.
Right. Are we ready to demonstrate?
That'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me get out here to my table. And
so we're going to get a live demonstration here from David of how he uses these on a real person.
Yeah. So while he's setting up there, let me do a quick overview. Mark, I think we sent you the courses, so let me just do a quick overview of each of the courses. So he's not going to have time to get dive into each one. He's just going to give you pieces of them. So phase 1 is the white one there, and that's the starting point for all of our courses.
And these are all on USB as well as paper.
Yeah. Right. So that's the starting point. That activates and connects them to the universal energy that we talked about, and then it balances and distributes throughout the energy centers, because you got to open up the system first and have it connected and balanced before you can then do additional work. And then phase 2, I think that should be a blue one you got there, Mark. Yeah. That introduces body tuners. So now we're going to work on the body a little bit with a chakra stone relaxation technique, and then work on acupressure points. So now we're starting to tap into the meridians of the body and the energy lines in the body. Exactly. And then that has two. Look at this like kind of tools in your toolbox. So it has 5 techniques in it, including opening the third eye and opening the heart. And David will probably touch on that. And the heart of that course is energy scanning. So he talked about how we want that perfect blueprint to get to the etheric blueprint. Well, there's energetic disturbances in the way. So you want to that's the slide we need. There we go. So you want to scan and find those energetic disturbances, and then clear those out and assist the client in releasing what they want to release. And then phase 3, I think you should have. I think it's a black one there. Yeah, phase 3 is when you find sometimes that maybe not an issue in this lifetime. It may be ancestral. So you're working with DNA at that point, etheric DNA, to remind the cell of balance. And then you transcribe with RNA and then go to the pineal gland. So techniques can be used on family, friends, clients with intention. They can be adapted for personal use, etc. Like Mark mentioned, they come on a thumb drive right now. We're in the process of moving them over to a online course. So you can be certified, or you can just kind of get them and use them on family and friends. So I think David's ready to go. Let's turn his mic back up here and go back to the wide screen. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Great. This is Barbara. Barbara works for Some Energetics. And
hi, Barbara.
She's here to volunteer to let me work on her. These are 2 ohm tuners. Probably one of the best sellers that we've had through the years. Is everybody understands the power of the ohm as the primordial sound. It's not the perfect sound, but it's the primordial sound. The perfect sound is silence. And a lot of people think silence is a lack of sound, but actually it's the most pure sound. And if I hold this fork up here, you hear nothing but silence. If I disrupt the silence, you can hear. So sound is disrupted silence.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with that. I've got 2 of them here. You can use one, but I've got 2 because I'm going to put it in the right and left ear, and I'm going to cross over right and left brain so that we can put her in a place of less stress maybe she's been in traffic or whatever it is, or a rough time. This will help to do that. And then we will. Now, anything that our practitioners do to the client, we do to ourselves, because I want to stay on the same frequency with her. You know, you can't have two frequencies going on a radio or television, because you won't know what either one of them is because of the static. So we're going to use that there. Okay. I'm going to show you just a few of the steps that you will learn if you decide to do this. This is the 3 forks that I talked about for the activation of putting Barbara's etheric energy and connecting it to universal energy. This is a red fork. That's right, blue. There. Okay, red, green, and blue are the 3 forks. The red is called an oot forks. Yes, oot. Ut quintlax is actually in Latin. And you know it as dough. It was changed to dough. And then we have Julie Andrews in the meadow with the kids, dough a deer and all of that. But the oot was replaced. Dough replaced oot, and it was taken out. And you know why? Because when it was done and sung in Latin in the early years of the church, it was changing people. It was healing people. It was freeing them of guilt and fear. Well, religion didn't quite go that path of undoing fear, but it became a fear-based religion. So this was important to take out. So all of these have been changed and taken out and now restored back to us. So I'm going to show you just a little bit how I activate energy. I have on here what we call soma swivels, because this frees the energy to move the fork and not the fork move the energy. And that's very important. If you're going to be an energy person that's going to use energy at all, you've got to learn to let energy move and not manipulate it. So the energy carries an intelligence of its own, and we want to find that intelligence that will guide us. So I'm going to take and bring up this earth energy, red, all the way to the coccyx. Now, oftentimes I will put like just a crystal or something like that at this point in the coccyx where I want this to cross each other. So I'm going to do the red, and I'm going to wait here until the energy picks up the fork. Now, I'm not doing a thing but holding the fork, and the energy is moving the fork. And I'm going to move it right up here. Okay, so I've moved red. Now we're going to bring down the energy of blue. I'm going to do this real quick because of time. And we're going to cross the red and the blue here, like that. Then I'm going to cross it with green, which is heart, balance, energy. Now, if you notice, by doing this and keep stacking this, that I'm crossing energy with energy, building more energy. And if I do that at some point, which I don't have a pendulum, but anyway, that I would check and see, do I have activation between connecting her energy to universal energy? Now, the next question is then, how do I get this new energy I'm bringing in and distribute it into her energy body intelligently and correctly? That's where you use the chakras. Now, the first thing that we teach is the power of the auditory system. The power of the auditory system. A lot of this is based up on the famous doctor, philosopher, expert, what's his name? Thomas, France. He's no longer with us, but his work with sound on everything from ADD to dyslexia to whatever, by putting sound through the auditory system and through the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve kind of wanders everywhere through the body. That's why it's called vagus. It means the wonder, and it's the largest nerves that we have. So this is what makes a tuning last longer than just being on the table. This may work through her energy body 3 days, 6 days, 7. Everybody's different. but once we put it through the auditory system. So I'm going to put it in this ear. I'm going to cross the corpus callosum into the left ear. And then I'm going to do that because I want to be on the same frequency that I'm working with her. We're together now. The next thing I want to do after I've activated the energy and use the auditory is I want to balance these chakras to these unique frequencies. So I'm going to do that by just putting this at the root chakra. And see how the energy is moving the fork? I'm not moving the fork at all. And notice it's, you probably can't tell, but it's going clockwise. See, it's building energy. Now, I will look away, disconnect, and look at it. It's changing and going counterclockwise. And this will keep going until there's a balance between the clockwise and the counterclockwise, or you can call it the yin and yang, the male and female, whatever you want to do. And then it's going straight across, which tells me that balance has been achieved. So this is very important. Now, the magic starts with using 2 tuning forks. So I'm going to take the next tuning fork, which is the root to the sacral, and I'm going to tap these 2 together. I don't know if you can hear these or not, but we should have had the
We can hear them.
back there. You could have hit the xylophone.
We can hear them.
Okay, good, good. All right, now when I do these 2, the real power is what you don't see. And what you don't see is this is a, I'll give you an example. This is a, can't say, a 396 and 417 hertz. 396 Uten Ray. Now, if you subtract the 396 from the 417, you get 21 hertz. That becomes the bridge or the frequency between the 2. Now, I want to move my new energy over the bridge to the next chakra. So let's go back to our auditory. Cross corpus callosum. Do yourself. Cross corpus callosum. I'm going to do balance the new chakra. I'm going to do this real quickly. And it's going to go clockwise, counterclockwise, and straight. And now I'm going to move my new energy from the root to the coccyx by creating this 21 hertz bridge between the 2. So I'm going to tap them, go back here, and I'm going to wait until there, it picked it up really good. Now I got this bridge of 21 hertz to look at the energy, just move across the bridge, comes up to the sacral. And now we've moved our new energy up to the sacral. Now we want to connect those 2 by following these energy channels that you'll learn called Ida, Pingala, and the Ida. So male, female, neutral. You'll learn that. So I'm going to cross there. And that is a lot of the technique itself until you get up here in the head. Now, once I do this, we call it ABBC, auditory, balance, bridge, connect, several times. And you finally get up here to the crown and you only have 6 forks. And I thought, what do I do about the 7th major chakra we're working with, which is the crown? And of course, I could have gone to the next series of frequencies. And a lot of people out there that's using Solfeggio at this time has gone to 9 forks. I do understand that in my left brain. I understand that 9 is completion and using 9 forks. But I decided to stay with Dr. Pulio's experience of only 6 forks. What's fascinating about the 6 forks is when I added up all of the frequencies of the 6 forks, reduced it down to the root vibration, it was a 9. So the 6 are complete. That's all we need to work with, in my opinion. I'm not against the 9. I think it's fine to have the 9. Use the 9 because you've got that 6 in there in that 9. So all of the tuning forks follow a lot of Tesla and other people's ideas that 3, 6, and 9 is a key to the universe. And I believe that. And all of these tuning forks, solfeggio, when reduced down, would be a 3, 6, or 9. Like the sacral is 417. 4 plus 1 is 5, plus 7 is 12. 1 plus 2 is a 3. So you can go on and on with these. Doesn't matter what you do to them, you never lose the keys to the universe, so to speak, which is a 3, 6, and 9 frequency. So the downloads were so powerful at this point that I began to hear things just coming into my consciousness that I would not have thought of. And one of the things that I heard was use all 6 to make the 7th. And I thought, well, I'd have never thought of that. So here's our oot fork, which is the root. We'll set it aside, and we will put the next frequency of the sacral, the lumbar, the thoracic, behind the heart, the throat, and then we're going to, and then the third eye, Eye of Enlightenment. Let me kind of put all this right in here. There we go. This takes a little practice, but you get there. And you're kind of making this beautiful little crown here. See? So I'm going to tap them as I go up the body. And I'm going to hold this here, and I'm going to continue following all of mine. So the 6th makes a 7th synergetic energy at the crown chakra. So you learn to do this by technique. But the thing that's interesting about these techniques that we teach is it so activates people's intuition and guidance that you begin to be so guided by maybe the person's guides, or by the guides that work with you, or whatever is helping you at this time. And God knows we need all the help we can get to get through this maze of this last bit of 4th dimension that we're going through, this wilderness chaos stage. But this is going to help people. I'm convinced using 5th dimensional modalities such as solfeggio forks is going to help you get through this much easier and much better. Some energetics begin to flourish at the beginning of the pandemic. We were doing fine, holding our place. But when this pandemic hit and people were sent to their room, this is one thing I tell people, that I feel like the universe said to us, go to your room, close the door, and think about what you've done. And all of a sudden we were isolated, put in our room, and there people start getting on the internet and start searching for new things, and things like some energetics begin to flourish. So we begin to flourish when everybody else is going down, we was going up, because we're going in a different direction than that. Mark, do you have anything you want to jump in here and say?
Well, that's exactly what happened. That's why I called it spiritual quarantine, because everybody had to then start thinking, and this is when things just started popping up for me, and I got led to you guys, and I remember emailing Tim saying, I know you don't know me, but I've got this idea. And he was like, who are you? and then it just, I feel privileged to be part of that, because I feel like my small contribution has just been to sort of be the guy chopping down some of the trees for people, and oh, look what we got over here, look what I found over here. And I think that's really, and this has been a big part of that journey. So I'm really glad that that's happened, and it's just amazing the timing that you've got 15 years experience to have worked all this out, have it all set up, ready to go for this time, and it's totally divine.
Yes, I've always been a visionary. I've always had the vision of the bigger picture, than just being sucked into the appearance of things, what the Maya, or what the Eastern call the Maya, or the illusion, the illusion of separation, the illusion that the ego uses our bodies to say, I'm not you and you're not me, and all of that's going on right now. And I really think my reaching out to anybody today out there who's into all of this that's going on today, the political scene, the whatever, is come back to spirit.
Yeah.
Come back to spirit. Your answer is not in politics. Your answer is not getting the right one or the wrong one in there. We need to get back to seeing things from the level of spirit, because when we see through the eyes of spirit, we see a whole different thing that's going on. Through my five senses, I see chaos and disorder. But then when I realize quantum physics has shown me that to all disorder, there's an order. In other words, what disordered was an order to disorder, because it's in that opportunity of the chaos when things are coming unglued, that the opportunity to jump and reorganize at a higher dimension and frequency is upon us. So let's think that way. Let's quit thinking about over 2022, 2024. Look up. There's a place, there's a place in the Bible. I can't help to, that's my background, but there's a place where the disciples of Yeshua, Jesus, the teacher, came and said, what's the end of the world going to look like? And he says, earthquakes and crazy places and nations riding together. It just sounds like a newspaper today or a news thing. But I loved one thing he said to them: look up when you see these things. Don't look over for the answer. Look up to a higher dimension that's got a whole different pattern of how we can repattern ourselves as the new human, I call them.
And that demonstration was amazing, by the way, because it's wonderful to see the energy move the way that it did.
Oh, it's the first time I see a person put a fork and let the energy move that fork and look at their face for the first time. It's an amazing experience to do that. But we won't do it. But then I would turn them over, and then I would go down the body as I went up the body, and you learn so much. I mean, the first phase is over 60 pages of manual. There's so much information and knowledge. So for people to go that far to learn the phases, there is a lot to learn, but I think you'll find it exciting, all the information and the knowledge that you can learn. So we hope you'll come and join the Soma family. That's the light workers that are being joined together by this wonderful, magical idea of frequencies and vibration.
Yeah, I mean, the more of us that do it, the quicker it is. I can't wait to go through it all myself.
Now,
I have a few
we have time. These are the same thing as these, only they've been lowered and they have weights on them, which makes them an oscillotonic. So this is an energy and this is a body tuner. This is cause, this is effect, right? So when I sound this, Barbara most likely does not feel that at all. She can hear it, and I can work in the energy. If I do this and put it on her body, she feels vibration. So this is kind of phase 2, is when you learn how to start integrating cause and effect and changing that. So this is the energy body tuners. And these are great for massage therapists and people who really want to work with acupuncture, and physical things. But you want to work with the energy first before you do all of this stuff that is physical. Now, we also teach how to open the Eye of Enlightenment, which I was directed by a certain technique that we teach, how to open the heart chakra. And all of these are added in as we learn to scan the body to find disruptions in the energy body and what we need to change and heal. Oh, there's so much, just so much to it. So get on our website, and there's a lot of information on there, and do your research if you're attracted at all to Soma energetics.
Yeah, I'm going to put a link in the description of the video, and everybody can go there and find out more.
Absolutely. And again, I don't want to leave out you that just need individual. We have this has been a really good seller since I talked to you last time, is the personal sound kit. And in that, you get the ohm tuner, you get a pineal gland, you get a crystal tuner, and you get just enough, and it shows you how that you can use these personally on you, your friends, and your families. And it's a good entrance and a way to kind of play with the forks to see if that's something that's going to resonate with you before you make the investment of the Solfeggio forks and so on and so forth. All right.
I got that 6 months ago.
Yes, that's
it. Used this lots and lots of times.
Good.
Especially I've got the frequency of love popped out.
Yes, that is a 528 also. Actually, in the Solfeggio, it is the gold fork for the solar plex, but we made it the love fork. And it's a heart fork, so we made it green for those who are looking to bring people into their life that's a frequency match coming from the heart of love. You know, for our first part of our story of evolution, it's all about procreation, passing our genes down, right? But now as the energy has moved up into the heart, we're moving more from procreation to co-creation. See, so the heart represents co-creation, where the lower are the procreation. So this is a tremendous time to really be a part of something. You know, as Gandhi said, be the change that you're looking for. And this is how you can be it. Enter into the process of how that we can do this, and not sit on the sideline and look for somebody to come and rescue you. It is you. And I don't care. There's people out there that say, well, I don't know if I'm smart enough. I don't know if I'm talented enough. I don't know this, that, and that. Don't you listen to that voice in you, because Some Energetics is for everybody. I don't care what your background is, your education, or whatever it is. Anybody can learn how to use sound, vibration, and frequency and tuning forks.
No, I agree. I mean, when I first got the first kit, I was like, okay. It took me about 20 minutes before I started doing it. And then people started coming around and saying, oh, could you do that on me? And then it became intuitive. It very quickly became intuitive.
Yes, absolutely. It never fails. It opens people's intuition and guidance, and it'll change you. It'll change you, and it'll change you while things are breaking down in third dimension. It will bring you into a free. You know the old saying, "Be in the world, but not of the world."
Yeah,
I'm learning to be in this third dimension because I'm needed, but I live a lot in consciousness in the fifth dimension on the third dimension. So I think there's other people out there that resonate with that.
100%. I know they do. I know they do. Thank you, Barbara.
She says thank you.
That's an amazing demonstration and information. And I think if any guys haven't seen this before, go and have a look at the link. If you already got a couple of the forks, go a bit further, because I think we all need it right now. I think the timing of this is perfect as well.
Right.
Where we are right now.
Before we close, let me just say, if there's people out there like myself who's going through a lot of changes emotionally, mentally, and physically, and you go to a doctor that's still practicing mostly third dimensional and can't find a thing that's wrong with you because you don't fit the textbook diagnosis anymore, because what is happening is you are kind of, for a better word, mutating to a light body, a more light body. You know, the blood that runs in our third dimensional veins is actually congealed light. You look this up on the internet. Science says that the density of light becomes blood. And I believe that blood changes its vibration. It becomes light. And that light body becomes your Merkaba. That is your light body that has allowed you access to all the multidimensional consciousness where you already exist. You're not trying to become anything. You're trying to remember who you are and who you've always been in the mind of Creator.
Exactly.
So I was going to read some of these things. Body aches and pains, especially in the neck, shoulders, and back. Crying for no apparent reason, such as change in job or career. Withdrawal from family relationships, unusual sleep patterns, intense drums, physical. I could go on and on. There are just lists and lists that has been put together. That is the sign that our cells are reading a different blueprint.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why go to somebody and get an energy diagnosis before you get a physical. I wish all doctors would do that. My dream, Mark, would be that when they set us in those little rooms, by ourselves, that somebody came in and worked with energy before the doctor came in, so that we would be open energetically to his energy. I say don't go to any doctor that doesn't start out with what's been going on in your life the last 6 months or a year.
Well, you know, all the things you just said, people are talking about those as ascension symptoms. But I love the fact that you came on with the tuning fork apron, because it makes you look like a workman who's going to work, right? Like a plumber.
Yes, the tool man.
If we had tuning, we have tuning shops for car engines. If we had tuning shops for people on every street corner in every town, we'd be a whole lot better.
Yes. Yes. Well, I want to say to you, I so appreciate you stepping up and being strategically placed to connect so many people to this truth. I mean, when I started this, it was one or two here, two or three, but now with this ability of you to be in this position to reach so many people, things have are sped up, and we're going to get this done much quicker and faster and get into that next leap in our bioconscious evolution.
I was given an image, a vision about a year ago that every one of us at the moment is part of a multi-dimensional chessboard, and we're all being moved around precisely as is required to achieve the objective.
Exactly. I like that. I like
And
that.
even when we don't realize, because a lot of people say, "What can I do? How do I achieve this? How do I help?" Well, they're actually just by watching this,
Yes.
they're part of it. So
Exactly. And I thank you so much for the opportunity to share what I have to share. And we're just going to believe it's going to resonate with those that are ready to receive and hear it.
well, I'm just very grateful that you found this information. I can hear myself in the background. It's like I'm in the room. that you found this information and that you managed to put it into this structure so it becomes accessible to people. And it's a great privilege to talk to you and hear your wisdom and knowledge gathered over this lifetime to help us go into the next one.
Well, you're certainly welcome and appreciate it. All right. Well, I think I've said enough, don't you?
I do. Well, no, you can keep going, but this is probably a good time. And I want to thank Barbara for being a willing participant there, and Tim for setting this up. Fantastic setup, wonderful demonstration.
Thank you.
And you guys watching this, get in touch with these guys. The link's near the video. And all I can say is thank you very much, David. And I hope to see you in 5D someday.
Absolutely. And we can do this again sometime and go a little deeper.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that.
All right. You have a great day, and thank you again.
Okay. Give my love to everybody. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.